Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified when we post a new video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the issue of taxation is raising a lot of heat and political heat in Kenya. So many Kenyans are kind of disillusioned. They don't know what to do. They cannot tell what they'll eat the next day because of the high cost of living. And this high cost of living has been brought about by overtaxation by the Kenya Kwanza administration. And so many politicians have come out to express their view on this. But now, Nairobi businessman Jimmy Wanjigi has come out boldly and told President William Ruto that if he doesn't watch out, then one day Kenyans will revolt against him.
Munasikia maoni ya wananchi. Mumekuwa kwa power mwaka moja. Na wananchi wanaumia. Najua wa Magata pahali ako hata yeye analilia sisi wananchi hapa. Mjue wananchi wanaumia. Na kama hamutarekebisha hii msafara, usicheza na wananchi. Musicheza na wananchi. Hiyo si onyo, it is the truth. It is the truth. Unafikiri sisi ni kama panya. Sisi si panya. Sisi si panya ya kukanyaga. Sisi ni wa binadamu. Sisi ni wanabinadamu. Na muwezi kila siku munaamuka munatuumiza, munaleta ushuru, munaleta sijui nini. Na kwanza ni watu wa hapa ambao wanaumia zaidi. Kweli ama si kweli? Ni watu wa hapa wanaumia zaidi. Na watu wa hapa ndio waliweka nyinyi. Kweli ama si kweli? Kama si nyinyi wangekuwa hapo. Basi halafu wanakuja kumchezea. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Na mjue hii ni Januari 2024. Mmepatiwa the truth. Muko na miezi 3 namna hii. Kama hamutabadilisha hii mwenendo, miezi 3. Asanteni sana.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what it is or what obsession the Kenya Kwanza government has with taxation. I don't know if they think that they will achieve all that they promised Kenyans in their manifesto through taxation. Yeah, they might get a lot of money, but Kenyans are suffering. Where is the money, the extra money going to come from? Kenyans do not have disposable income. Parents are struggling to take their children to school. Parents cannot even pay school fees right now. Leave alone school fees. There are people who do not have basic commodities. They cannot even eat. And today, in today's newspaper, the Kenya Kwanza administration is also thinking of introducing another tax, which is a 5% tax on farmers' harvest. That story has been captured in the Standard newspaper. Today's Standard newspaper, whereby they are saying that KRA says that they will tax farmers 5% of their harvest or of their produce. So what does that mean? It means that the little that the farmers or peasant farmers are also getting down there is going to be taxed. So the question is, why would you tax farmers, peasant farmers, the small scale farmers, 5% of their total revenue? and spend that money in projects that are not benefiting the country. The Kenya Kwanza administration needs to have a humane face while dealing with Kenyans. If you look at this paper, like almost every story that you read here, it's about the high cost of living, high cost of items. Like this one, there is back to school rush, hits amidst cry over high cost of learning items. So the same parents who are struggling to make ends meet are finding the cost of buying goods, like books, has also gone high. So where are parents going to get this money from? Where are Kenyans going to get the money from? If the government was taxing Kenyans and providing this basic, and then they able to provide some of these basic needs, like education, like healthcare, like transport, then we would not mind it. But here's a situation whereby your salary is taxed, or what is overtaxed. Then you come back, you buy textbooks, exercise books, you pay school fees, you pay for health, you pay for transportation. So that means that almost 80% of whatever you are earning goes to taxation. Because you taxed, government takes 30-something% in terms of pay. Then there is the UHC, there is the housing fund. Then there is VAT on commodities. After VAT, you come to these basic commodities, basic things like textbooks, pens, that prices have gone high. So how are Kenyans going to survive in this? So the Kenya Kwanza administration needs to think on, they need to come up with a strategy on how they are going to sort out this issue. It's something that is pushing Kenyans to the brink. And if the Kenya Kwanza administration thinks that Kenyans have money, I think there is this notion in the Kenya Kwanza administration that Kenyans have a lot of money. They have a lot of disposable income, which is not true. I don't know where they got that information from, but Kenyans are really suffering out here. You can't they should look for ways of generating revenue. You can't tax a nation, you can't tax your people to prosperity. It's always said that. Because Kenyans also need to get a way of developing themselves. And how do you develop yourself? You develop yourself when you have disposable income. Kenyans can set businesses. Kenyans can buy other items when they have disposable income. But if you don't have disposable income, it means you're going to cut down on your expenditure. You cut down on lunch, you cut down on luxury items. But when you cut down on these luxury items, it means other companies or industries that are producing the items are also going to struggle, because one, the items are not going to be bought. So they are not making profit. What is the result of that if they're not making profit? If they're not making profit, it means that they are going to lay off some of their employees. So there's that ripple effect in all these things that the Kenya Kwanza administration. When these companies or industries do not make profit, then there is the government itself does not make money that they levy on the profits that these companies make. So however much you're trying to look at taxation as the only way of generating money or generating revenue, but I think there are other ways. There are other ways in which the government can raise revenue. What former President Kibaki did was to look for ways in which they reduced taxation. Then they opened up the market in such a way that they stopped borrowing locally. Stopped borrowing locally, eased up money for Kenyans, said that Kenyans were able to borrow from banks. Kenyans borrowed from banks, set up businesses. These businesses generated revenue, and Kenya and the country itself generated a lot of revenue during Kibaki's era because of the expansion of that market. But however, Kenya Kwanza is trying to stifle the economy by squeezing the little that Kenyans have. It will still get back to them. So Kenya Kwanza administration needs to work on a strategy. I think they need to, whatever they are planning here is not working. And it's pushing Kenyans to the brim. So if there is someone who can talk to the president, he needs to look for ways, talk to his advisors, economic advisors, to look for ways of generating. Because look at all these stories. Kenyans suffer in Ruto blame game with the opposition and the judiciary. So if we go back to that story of farmers being taxed. Someone says here that how do you collect taxes on poor farmers and go to use it lavishly on things like choppers? That is Kipkorir Arap Menjo, director at Kenya Farmers Association, on the proposed tax. Another person says that such a tax would make Kenya's agricultural production less productive compared to regional neighbors and eventually make the cost of final produce costlier than imports. That is true, which means if local products or local produce is expensive, the expenses have risen because, one, the cost of producing that product itself has gone high because of the cost of energy, cost of petrol. So once that has gone up, then the farmer will also have to factor in these other taxation when coming up with the final price for the product, because no one would want to reduce the profit margin just because of taxation. So at the end of it, the cost of those specific products will rise. And what that does mean, it means that other commodities from other countries, like let's say Uganda, Tanzania, will start getting into this market. So we'll depend so much on imports instead of locally manufactured or locally produced products. And the net effect of that is that the government will lose forex. Instead of producing for export or producing for our local consumption, we'll be using more money now to import goods into the country, goods that we can produce locally. So what a good government would have done is to try and support local farmers, support them so that they can produce more, get more harvest, so that the cost of products, cost of food can come down. So I hope the Kenya Kwanza administration will get this message and look at ways in which they can raise revenue. Taxation will not help. Overtaxing Kenyans will not help. That is it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, goodbye.